Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach. And in this episode, I want to talk about the idea of having to deal with issues, problems, whatever, right? And the perspective I have on this is that many of us would like things to be simple and so forth, right? But the problem is you don't grow from that, right? And while many of us complain with having to deal with, let's say technical issues and whatever, it actually serves you well to be able to deal with that stuff because you learn from that and therefore become much more valuable. Likewise, the same is true for if you're hiring somebody, you want them to have really dealt with the stuff because then they know how to solve something, right? The more problems you deal with, the bigger your toolkit is essentially to fix things. This is sort of analogous to it. I'm not in the medical field, but many doctors, they only worry about like their surgery success rate, and so they don't take harder cases because then if they fail, it'll worsen them. And if you kind of know that fact, it's like, well, why would I want someone who's actually like, willing to take the risk, not like mindlessly or whatever, like has expertise, yes, but has actually done this, because that to me is still much more valuable, even if they failed in certain instances, because they've learned from that versus someone who's just in their comfort zone at that point, right? And so from that perspective, whether it is for yourself or the people that you work with, that's something to really keep in mind and balance, right? Now, that doesn't mean to create a toxic work environment for the people that you work with, and likewise to just allow yourself to be in a toxic environment. But, there's just, for me, filmmaking is like, what I know most of, right? And so for me, dealing with that stuff, growing up of like, let's say corrupt video footage or corrupt audio, or, shaky footage, just any possibility of just something having gone wrong in terms of the production end, what you start to get good at is then you know how to fix these things, right? And in a way, it's saying also that you have to learn the technical side of things, because the more technical stuff you know, then it allows you to open up creatively, because your imagination is matched already with what you can do, and vice versa. The technical might drive some of the creative of like, wait, I can do this technically, and so that's perfect for, I can do this and really create something awesome. The Matrix movie is a great example of that. They had in mind to do something, and at the time, no one had done it, but they were asking the right questions, and it led to, bullet time. And now it's like, oh, bullet time, it's like nothing else. But at the time, it was like the most revolutionary thing ever. And that's what understanding the technical really allows for, is for you to be able to create that stuff, right? And also just in general, just, it doesn't even have to be like jaw-dropping necessarily, but you can make good stuff by knowing the technical and knowing how to fix those things, whatever those things might be, because one of the aspects that I talk about with various clients and friends of mine is this idea that like, hey, listen, the audience is never going to know what got left out. That's why I'm a big advocate of, just create your first draft, see it, because then you can always revise. So many people become so self-critical on just the first draft already, and it's like, no, listen, let the first draft be crap. It's okay. You can't revise nothing, but you can revise crap. And where I'm going with this is so many people, like this idea, they got bogged down because they're worried about any mistakes that they might have. And it's like, no, listen, you can fix that stuff. Don't worry about it. Like whatever mistakes you think you have, you got to put in the work, but you can fix it. And, whatever that is, no one's going to know. Like if you make it look intentional, then it becomes intentional. No one's going to know otherwise, right? Robert Rodriguez talks about it all the time. And it's it's easier said than done oftentimes, because I've been in, certain situations like that where, for example, you're just watching some of, like, let's say the dailies, and dailies are just raw video files of, what you shot that particular day, right? And you're watching it and you're like, holy crap, is any of this good? But when you really sit with it and start to put it all together in the edit bay, then it starts to come together and you're like, oh, this actually isn't bad at all, and it's working. And you might get taken down a path that was not intended, but all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's awesome, right? And then you might lean into it, it's because really art is an exploration, right? And it's trying certain things out, and how does it look from over here? And what if we tried this? And what if we added this or took away that, and blah, 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 right? Until you get to a point where it's like time to put it out. It's like, it's the best you could make at any given point. That's all really art is. And so that's why do not be afraid of dealing with that crap, because, especially early on in like, let's say your 20s or just in your career in general, it's good to take on some of the stuff that doesn't seem so great, because you learn the most from that. One of the reasons why I know how to do what I do is because, like, in high school and so forth, the amount of like garbage short films we created were the ones that taught us the most, right? And many filmmakers will say that. And it applies to all facets. And likewise, if you're working with somebody, you want them to have that quality, to have been through the mud and so to speak, right? That they know and can bring something to the table. I'll give you an example. My sound designer, he's had to fix so many movies with bad audio that now he's an expert at audio restoration and can make basically anything sound really good. That's a skill that I want on my team, right? Not that I'm aiming to have like crap audio, but it helps. It helps. So, because it's just, what comes to mind is back in 2002, the German national team in the World Cup, they had the greatest keeper at the time, Oliver Kahn. And so one of the defenders he was speaking about, it was like, hey, it gives us a lot of confidence knowing that if we make a mistake, the attacker still has Oliver to deal with back there. And at the time, up until the final, Oliver Kahn just let in one goal, which is insane. It's really good. So yes, when you just have to fix problem after problem after problem, it makes you that much better, because now you've built up a toolkit. So don't shy away from that, and bring on board people that are like that. So that's my message. Thank you as always for taking the time to tune in. If you have any questions or thoughts of your own, please comment down below or hit me up on social media at Svitek. I would love to hear from you. Likewise, if you appreciate what I do and would like to have more direct interactions but can't afford the full coaching, well, that's what my Patreon page is for. Patreon.com/PhilSvitek. There's various tiers there with benefits and so forth for you and us to be able to interact. And likewise, I've referenced various things that I work on creatively. All those are linked to down below in the description, so that way, if you'd like, you can check those out and support me that way. Supporting that stuff helps support this, because it's all symbiotic, right? What I learned from that, I get to share here, and you benefit from, right? So that's the nature of it all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hope to see you next time.